Right, before we get started, quick unboxing. So this is going to be our second generation rotating screen mount. Depending on when you're watching this, we may still be offering both versions. They're very similar, so you can use this video for either version, the installation part of it. So if I just move things off to one side. This is the main difference between the first and second generation. So different bolt holding it together, and although you can't really see on here, it actually pivots both left and right and up and down, so you'll see that later on in the video. The key thing to note that for both versions, you really cannot move this until it's in the car, and that's by design. Let's get the other pieces out. So this piece fits on the back of the screen. It uses the bolts that come out from the existing plastic cowl on the Model 3 or Model Y screen. This is the revised version of the cowling, so this replaces the one that comes out on your 3 or Y. And then in the baggie we have this piece. This may or may not be needed. Again, it depends on essentially the build quality of your car. But if it is needed, it fits on top of the metal supporting bracket in your 3 or Y, and it just closes up the gap between the top of this. Essentially it fits across here, and the bottom edge of your dash. So if your trim is a little uneven, this takes care of it, and again we'll show you that in the video, of course. Temperature sensor. So just to explain that, so in here or underneath your screen is the cabin temperature sensor, so that's what this is for. And then if you have an older Model 3 or Y, I think maybe just 3, this is for the version 1 cabin sensor, so you get both options. And then I move some stuff aside. This is the toolkit. So spudger or trim removal tool, that's literally just to unpop the vent mount underneath your existing screen so you can get to the bolts to remove it. We'll obviously show you all of this during the installation video. Big ass Allen key. This is for adjusting the tension if you need to on this. This is a little Torx screw. I think it's a T10, forgive me if I'm wrong. This is for removing the existing screws from the back of the screen. Little baby screwdriver, Phillips, that's for installing the temperature sensor. That's what the screws are for as well, they fit in there. Smaller Allen key, this is for installing the bolts, which is the last thing I should have got out from the box. I need my spudger to get those out. So these hold, there's 2 of them, but they hold the screen to the metal prongs that come out of your dash, so these are pretty important. You want to get this super tight. You can certainly do it with this. If you have better tools, of course, like any DIY guy, you should use those, but that's certainly an option too. And then a little, just a 10 mil spanner or wrench, 10 on this end, 8 on this end. Again, you may have better equipment. If you have a socket set, I would recommend using that because you can just get more leverage on that. So that's what's in the box. Now we're going to go into the car and do the installation. Alright, we're inside the car now. So as mentioned before, we're going to be installing the version 2 screen rotator, so that pivots left and right, up and down as well. But this video works for both options, so if you have version 1, good for that too. So we're going to start by removing the screen, we'll drop it down, then we'll kind of undo the bolts, put everything back together again and put it back on. To start with, we need to remove the vent cover underneath, which is what holds the temperature sensor, and to do that we're going to use the included spudger or trim removal tool. Just kind of really dig it in there and try and pop that open like that. Alright, and you'll see this is the temperature sensor, so we want to squeeze that, the plug going into it. I'll just find that. I don't quite know how to squeeze. Every connector on a Tesla is different. Okay, yeah, there's a little. I'll show you this after, once I've got the thing out, just where to squeeze. Okay, so it's out of the way now. You can see there's a little, maybe you can get that on camera there, just a little prong that you need to pull in to remove that. That just gets that out of the way. This is the temperature sensor, so if you have the older version, it'll be flat. This is the version 2, which I think came in around the beginning of 2019. But we have mounting panels for both types. I'll just get the screwdriver. So we're going to undo this from here. Alright, and then just set that side to one side for now. Okay, so now we have that off, we can get to the 2 bolts underneath. I'm kind of pointing them out with my fingers. I'll get them out of the way in a second. Hopefully you can see that. So to do that we need to get this off, we need the 10mm socket, which I'm going to use. We do provide a 10mm wrench or spanner as well in the kit, but honestly it's a little easier with one of these if you have one in the house. So I'm going to turn that the right way. There's just one of these on each side. We're going to reuse these, so keep that somewhere safe as well. Let's see the screen loosen up. Don't worry about that, it's not going to go anywhere, but I'm just going to support it to take the strain off the bolt. Okay, so now the screen is going to come away. This requires a little bit of effort, but you also need to be careful because obviously you don't want to damage any of the connectors on the back of the screen. So before I do this, I'm going to move a couple of cameras around and put down a towel just to have somewhere to put the screen. Okay, so as you can see I'm kind of using, there's not that much cable or slack cable on the back of the screen, so I'm just using the box it came in and a couple of towels, just somewhere to put the screen on that's nice and stable and we can work on it. So I'm going to just kind of gently but forcibly pull it away. That's one side. That's 2 sides. And just move this here. Alright, so now there are 2 Torx nuts to remove just in here. We'll get a shot of that while I find the Torx driver. That's this one. Let's just do it this way. This removes the factory cowling. We're going to reuse these as well, so don't lose them. Right, almost there. Okay, so now this is kind of the most fiddly bit, it's getting this connector out. So I'm just going to move this out of the way, just hook it up there or something. Okay, so depending on the vintage of your car, you may or may not have this white retaining clip on there. So we're going to remove that first. And this is a bit of a fiddle to get off because it kind of catches on everything. Okay. And then what we're left with is this connector. So we need to be a little bit careful here. The mount itself doesn't put any strain on this connector at all, but just getting the thing out is a little tricky. So I'm going to grab the screwdriver, and then hopefully you can see there's a little retaining clip here. Let me grab a light real quick, just so we can make sure we see that. Okay, so this is what I'm pushing in, and then I'm going to put some pressure and remove the plug at the same time. So just push on that and just kind of, again, firm pressure pops that out. If you have difficulty, sort of pay attention to where the joint is. You can just get a little flat blade screwdriver between that and just get some extra leverage on it as well. So not too bad. Okay, so I'm going to move the screen out of the way. Alright, so now we're going to remove the rest of this. So now we've got the screen off, we're going to go ahead and put the mount on. So we're going to start with the plastic cowling and just kind of pull the cables through that, like so. Don't clip it in or anything because we're just sort of working around it at the moment. And the way this fits in is just like that, just slots into the two prongs. It doesn't go all the way in, but you'll find the position using the factory bolts we just removed. But unfortunately we have to do all that through here, just to add to the fun. So we're just going to drop that in there like that. And I'm going to grab one of the bolts and kind of maneuver things around like so until we can get that one in. And we'll get that tightened up again using the 10mm socket. Okay, that's that side. Then we'll manoeuvre things around a bit more and get this other side visible. Turn that. It's a bit of a fiddle, but you'll find a position where you can get to the bolt like that. And then just move the bracket around like that. And tighten that up. Okay. So that's good and tight. Let's move this back. Get the bracket squared back up again. So you can see I can move it around now. It's not easy to move, but it does move. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and push this all the way home. There's another black piece in the kit that looks like this. If you have a wide gap at the top here, and we don't, but if you do, then this just sits, if I get the right way around, on top of these bolts here, and just gives you an extra platform for this to snap under. So if we needed it, we would have a much bigger gap under here, but obviously there isn't a gap, so we don't need this piece. But depending on your car, you may be able to make use of that. So we're just going to push this back, and this takes a little bit of manipulation, and use the trim clip as well, or sorry, the trim pry bar to just push this back into place. So I'm just going to have that middle one under, get this one under. Okay, that's good. We still have the two cables coming out over here. There we go. So you kind of know when it's home because everything's all squared up and it's good and solid. Okay, so now we've got the cowling on. We're going to start on the back of the screen. So to do that, we're going to fit this piece. I've preloaded the factory screws that that came off earlier. It just makes it easier because they kind of have to go into this little recess here. So just preload those. We're going to drop that on, and we're going to get this connector as well. So this is all a bit awkward, and we're sort of working quite close to the screen. And just put it on the right way. That'd help. So this is going to come through here. We're going to push that home. I didn't mention at the start of the video, but it probably makes sense to set the screen into screen cleaning mode, so it's not accepting any inputs while you're doing that. It obviously doesn't matter if you forget to do that, as I did. So that's on. I'm going to put this clip on. This goes this way around, so we're going to move that out of the way again. Just slide that down over the top. This thing is so fiddly. It actually goes that way. So how many times I do this, I can never remember the right way. Okay, that just fits there. Now I'm going to bring this around like so. Find my Torx wrench, and then just do these up. There's a lot going on here. Let's get this up here. Okay, these don't need to be super tight, it's just plastic on plastic. Oops. Okay, so now it's time to hook the screen onto the mount. So it kind of slides over the top here. One thing to note, and this is the most frustrating part of the whole installation process, these bolts go in at this angle, so it's roughly 45 degrees. Once you've got the screen mounted on there though, you're doing it completely blind, so it does take a bit of patience to get these things to bite, and you'll see that in just a moment. So we're going to go ahead and put the screen on, and this just sort of slides over the top like that, and then just jimmy it into place like that. And then we're going to do the first bolt over here. I'm going to support the screen. You kind of want it like that, so it's difficult to tell, but you'll see that when the screen's in the right position, all the plastic joints across the top here line up just right. I'm going to put that in there like that. Then we're going to do the same on the other side. Completely blind. Hold on. Like that. Then we'll get our Torx wrench. I'm going to move the box out of the way because I can't really get much leverage. Oh no, that's the other one. Allen key for this one. As it starts to tighten up, you'll feel the screen get more rigid. You want to get a decent turn on this, so once you've got it most of the way in, just put the shoulder end in just to get a bit more leverage on the Allen key, like that. We do the same over here. Oops. Okay, and then same thing, just get the short end in, just get a bit more leverage on it. Okay, so that's the screen mounted, good and solid. Next thing we need to do is the temperature sensor, which if you remember looks like that. That's okay, we've got spare screws over here, so I'm going to put that there. We just need 2 screws for this one. And we'll get the sensor plate, so this is a second generation sensor, so we need the bigger of the 2 plates, but I'll show you both of them. This is what they look like. This is the inside view, this is the outside view. So if your sensor doesn't look like this, then you're going to be wanting this one, and it'll be a sensor that just kind of screws right down onto top. But most cars, and certainly everything since middle of 2019, maybe early 2019, has this one. So it just sits in there like that. We get 2 screws, a little screwdriver, tighten this in. Okay. And then we want to find the temperature sensor plug, which is up here. This can only go in one way, like that, and that just snaps in, like that. And then the best way to get this in there, let's move that cable out of the way, is put it in from the bottom. You'll see there's a sort of a leverage point there, and then just snap it upwards. Get that bit in there. Oops. Like so. Okay, so you can now see that it's all mounted. It rotates left and right, which is nice. It also rotates up and down, so you can kind of really kind of just position it to the driver if you choose to. It's not contacting the back of the dash or anything like that. If when you're done you'll find the screen is unresponsive, this is just because we're unplugging it and plugging it while the car was powered up. So you just need to do a full reset of that, which is just pressing and holding the two buttons on the steering wheel and the brake, and then just waiting. Yeah, this takes a long minute sometimes, but the screen will go black shortly, and then eventually the logo will appear. Okay. Okay, take your fingers off. There we go. Alright, so just pause the podcast. There. Okay, so now everything's back to normal. The screen's still moving around, and all the touch functionality is back. So that's it. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the installation video.
Great job, Peter.